this is Mrs. Smeckens, and we've been working on tracking the details of a single character. Authors develop characters throughout the whole story, and as a reader, we need to collect all the details about a single character from the beginning to the end of the story. We collect details like, what did that character do? What did that character say? How does that character think or feel? And the reason we do this is to better understand the characters, better understand the story, and learn from the characters. Okay, and one of the things we can learn about a character after we've read the story and collected the details from tracking. One of the things we can do as a reader is step back and analyze the details we collected. And not just retell what the character did, said, and thought, but tell you even more about the character. We can tell you the character's trait. Character traits are the character's personality, what they're like on the inside. Now, authors don't tell us. They don't come right out and give us a green reading voice detail and tell us a character trait. They don't. No, they imply it. And they expect that readers will collect all of the details and then be able to determine, assess, infer the character trait, the character's personality. Okay, so now let's make sure we know what a character trait is. Character trait is how the person is on the inside. Okay, it's not just how they act, it's how they act all of the time. And sometimes when I say a personality trait is how the person is on the inside, we get that confused with feelings. Okay, I'm not talking about feelings. No. We already looked at how the character feels at different parts on different pages, what he thinks and feels. We've already got those details. The author isn't going to tell you the character trait, the personality trait. You have to infer it. You have to figure it out. So let me kind of define feelings versus traits, show you some examples, and then bring you back to how do you figure this out? Okay, and so I'm going to start first with, okay, so feelings. Let's look at the F in feelings and the TTR in traits. Feelings, traits. All right, feelings are fleeting, which means they come and go. Feelings fly in one page and fly out another. You can have a feeling on one page as a character and then a different feeling on the next. This one fades. But traits are tried and true. Remember what we're learning to do. We've been collecting details, tracking a single character across the whole text. But once you do that, then you can step back and say, and his character trait and his personality across the whole text, tried and true. He had this personality trait in the beginning. He had this personality trait in the middle. He had the personality trait at the end. It's tried and true. It doesn't change. His personality trait is blank. And so, gosh, coming up with character trait or personality trait is hard. You have to do it after you read, after you really study a character, then you kind of come up with this, I think his personality is blank, all right? But it's throughout the whole text. Feelings are just for a certain page or paragraph. Traits are all the time, the whole text or most of the text. Okay, so that again, feelings come and go, they're temporary, they change. But traits are permanent. Traits stay the same. So when we're asked, how would you describe this character in terms of a character trait? We mean, what details, what did the author tell us about this character that tells us what they're like at the beginning, in the middle, and the end, and it's the same. It's the same. A lot of things change in a story. Okay, a lot of things, problems get solved and settings change and time changes. I know, but a character trait doesn't change. The character is the same way at the beginning, in the middle, and the end if we're talking about his personality. So it's the same, it's permanent, it doesn't change. Let's look at something else. Feelings, you can go to a certain part and say he feels like this, he feels like this, he feels like this. But in a trait, you can find lots of different details to prove his personality. And those details all support one personality, the same personality, beginning, middle, and end. Okay, now let's take a minute to look at some examples of what character traits are, some actual words, but let's first notice that feeling words are little, simple, little, easy words. Mad, sad, glad, happy, nervous, excited. Okay, these are just, I can feel like that, and then 10 minutes later I can be crying, right? They come and go, they change. I can feel one way on this page, and then on the next page, the character feels something else. But traits don't change. And traits, I'm telling you right now, are the big words, the big vocabulary words. And I'm going to show you a list, and I can guarantee you know many of these words. You just don't use them in your everyday because you talk about how you feel right now. And traits are how you are most of the time. All right, see that difference? So let's zoom in and look at the left side here. Feelings: happy, sad, proud, bored, frustrated, angry, nervous, confused. That's just right now. Whatever you're doing right now makes you feel like that. But traits are all the time, tried and true. I'm always friendly. I'm always loyal. I'm always dependable. I'm always serious. I can watch a movie and I'm serious. I can play a video game and I'm serious. I can do my homework and I'm serious. Some people are just serious all the time, right? It's not that they're never happy. They can be happy, but their go-to inside personality is pretty serious. Do you see the difference between feelings and traits? Okay. And so this list is going to be powerful. You've got to start to use those words. You got to add those into your vocabulary as a reader, because readers don't just collect feelings from different pages of the text and what the character says and does, but they can then look at all of that and put them together and come up with one of these big trait vocabulary words. Okay, to really describe a character. Now, you can have more than one character trait. For example, if we were looking at Mrs. Smeckens as a character, she's pretty enthusiastic. I'm pretty woo-woo-woo about almost anything else I do. I mean, I could be at church and I'm woo-woo-woo. I could be teaching and I'm woo-woo-woo. I could be cleaning my house and I'm woo-woo-woo. I'm just an enthusiastic person, okay? I'm also, though, you can be more than one trait. I'm also pretty athletic. I'm a pretty good athlete in almost any sport, and I'm willing to try, and I'm pretty athletic. Okay. I'm also hoping that people think that I'm dependable. I feel like I'm dependable. You say, can you be here at this time? I will be. You say, can you get this, bring this, make this? I do it. I am dependable. And again, it's not just once, it's all the time. Character traits are all the time, all right? Now, character traits aren't always positive. If we looked back at that list, they're not all positive. Look at that: conceited, defiant, rude, selfish, right? Some of these are not good things. Yeah, all traits aren't positive, all right? We sure hope to have positive traits, but we all have some negative ones. I do. I'll tell you some of mine. I can be loud and rambunctious. And that's not a good thing because I tend to be loud and rambunctious all the time. And so it bothers some people. And so it's not necessarily a good thing to be, all the time. I also am sometimes like, come on. Let's go. Hurry. I'm impatient. Yeah. Sometimes I'm just like, why aren't you getting this? Let's go. Come on, get this done. Let's go over here. Come on. And that's not a good thing, is it? And I'm not impatient just sometimes. I'm impatient a lot. It's not a good thing, but it's pretty typical. I've got to really work to not be like that. I have to really work not to be rambunctious because my tendency, my go-to inside, I'm a loud, rambunctious, somewhat impatient person. See what I mean? Okay, so now, as we learn about character traits, I want us to understand that it's what is the same about the character. When we add up all of these details that we tracked and collected, what is a personality, a word we can use to describe the character that kind of fits the character across the whole text? That's what we're talking about. Character traits are the whole text fits this. There's evidence all over the text to fit this, okay? And so authors don't tell you character traits. Nope. They tell you details. They give you details. Is this looking familiar? Your reading voice collects details. tracks details. What details? What the character does, says, and thinks. But the reader has to put those details together and think about them in order to come up with a character trait. A character trait is an inference. Authors don't tell it to you. You have to infer it. Authors imply it. They give you hints and clues. You got to figure it out. That's what readers do. So that means in order to go past just collecting details stated in the text, we're going to need Mrs. Linder's silhouette head. We're going to have to put details together in order to figure out a character's personality, a character's trait. Let me add up here in the neck what we're shooting for, we're striving for, what we're looking to work on. And that is to take all of these details, put them together, and figure out the character's personality, because the author never tells us. Okay, where do we get the details? What details will help us? The same ones we use to track. It's the same details. You're going to look at what the character did, all of the actions for what the character did. Then you want to look at all of the details in terms of what did the character say. You also want to consider all of the thoughts and the feelings that the character had. All of these will help you as you use your thinking voice. Look at all of those clues and say, this makes me think that I'm wondering if he's kind of like someone who, and we start to use our thinking voice and find patterns and relationships, and we use our memories, our own self-connections, text-to-self connections to figure this out. All right? You've got to make an inference. Authors do not tell you character traits. They tell you character actions, spoken words, and thoughts. But they imply how a character is most of the time. Character trait. Readers have to figure it out. Okay, let me show you. How the heavens do you do this? Well, I'll tell you right now. All of this information is important. Okay, so everything we did in the last couple lessons where we've been collecting what does a character do, say, and think has been important. We need that information. But now we got to put it on the silhouette head. Now we've got to put details together to figure out a character trait. And so I'm going back to good old Charles. Remember that short story we've been reading? All right, so here's Charles. And over the last several lessons, we've looked at the mom and we've looked at the son. Remember his name? His name was Lori, all right? And then Charles, and we have quickly realized that Lori and Charles are the same person. Charles is a made-up person, right? Lori was just totally making him up. Okay, so now I want to kind of walk you through, and I'm going to do it first. I want to show you how I can look back at the details about the mom, look at them, group them, think about them to come up with a personality trait to describe the mom, okay? Something that fits the mom for the whole text. All right, so first I want to remind you of my mom details. All of the things I collected that the mom did, said, and thought. And so I'm just going to pull on some of these and tell you what I'm thinking, all right? So one of the details there on your screen says that she always asked him about school. How was school? Tell me about school. Remember, he went to kindergarten, okay? And so when I think about that detail, you have to think about the details. When I think about it, it tells me this mom's super involved, all right? She's very involved, all right? Now, that was only in this one part. It isn't necessarily true for the whole text, but for this one part, that one detail, I'm having this thought, okay? Remember when she corrected his grammar? He came in and he said he learned nothing, and she said, I didn't learn anything, right? And so she's very proper. Not only is she involved, but she's very proper. She knows right from wrong. She's trying to teach it to him, okay? Remember when he was telling the mom and dad all about Charles and that he would use bad words and that he would kick and hit and get in trouble all the time? And she said, the mom said, I don't know, kindergarten seems a little unsettling. And when he was late that one time, because everybody stayed after school with Charles, she was waiting anxiously. So she's saying words like unsettling. We know that she waited anxiously. She was passionately wanting to meet Charles's mother. I mean, this mother, the mom of Lori, she's very worried. She's very worried. She's desperate. She's concerned. Now, these are not words necessarily that the author used. These are all in my thinking voice. I'm putting these together, Okay? Remember at one point in the story when Lori bent down and touched his toes and showed him how he could do that? Remember, he's only 5, okay? And she was like, oh, that's fine. And she said it heartily. It was like, well done. Like this really like big deal. I don't know about you, but when I see that detail, I'm thinking, she's a little over the top. I mean, she's involved, she's proper, she's worried, but she's also a little over the top with praise and compliments, okay? And so then I see some of the details later about the mom, and it said she went to that parent-teacher meeting, and she sat restlessly. She was restless. She was determined to find Charles' mother. She just, I've got to know. I'm desperate. I'm concerned. I got to know who this kid is. She's very kind of protective of her son, Lori. Okay, so now I'm trying to come up with a word that kind of fits all of these, right? Because it has to be a word that fits the mom across the whole text. So I've collected the details and I'm putting together. So now let me just think out loud. You just kind of listen for a second. So the mom is involved. She's very worried, involved. She's trying to do the right thing. She praises him. She's correcting him. Protective. I would say she's kind of like a hovering parent. Some people call it a helicopter parent. I just lost a sticky note. But let me finish with, I say she's watchful. The mom is watchful. I would go so far as to say that's her character trait. Do you see how we did that? Is she watchful at the beginning? Yeah. Watchful about his school? Is she watchful in the middle? Yes, she's very worried. Is she watchful at the end? Yes, she wants to know who this parent is of Charles. Watchful fits across the whole text. Hey, try the next one with me. Try the next one with me. All right, so now we've collected all these details about the son, Lori, okay? And I'm going to zoom in and I want you to skim these details for a few moments while I rip off the sticky notes on our silhouette head, because these aren't going to help us figure out the character trait for Lori, because these helped us figure out the mom's character trait. So study this list and see if you can't figure out which reading voice details might help. Okay, so let's look at some of those. Okay, we'll just start on the left and move ourselves over. What details popped out? What would you say? Take note of this. This might help us figure out who Lori is, the personality he has throughout pretty much the whole story. What would we say? Okay, so some of us really noticed this whole idea of he came in and he talked to his dad coldly, and he talked with food in his mouth. This is standing out. How about the fact that he left the table without permission, took a cookie, just got up and left? For some of us, this is all saying what? What words are coming to mind? What personality traits are coming to mind? You're thinking he is, okay, disrespectful, possibly. What else? I said gross. Okay, any other words? Misbehaving, disobedient. Okay, good. All right, let's gather some more details. What other reading voice details do you think are possibly going to help us? How about in that first column near the bottom where he took a minute and really thought about who was the bad kid, and he said, it was Charles. Well, we now know all that thinking. Why was he doing all that thinking? Because he's totally making him up, right? This kid doesn't exist. It's an intentional lie. This kid's lying about Charles, right? All right, what else? Top of the second column. How about when he found out that he was telling that Charles hit the teacher, and he grinned enormously. The teacher got hit. This is the detail, and he's grinning enormously. Okay, now let's pretend no one got hurt, and something happened, okay? And you kind of like you're joking, right? Like, oh, so funny. I mean, I'm sorry that happened, but that's so, he might be kind of being a little bit playful. I think he's being a little playful. Okay, like, oh my goodness, can you believe this kid did this? Hit the teacher. Okay, he kind of liked when Charles got in trouble. What were some other things, details that we know he liked when Charles got in trouble? Yeah, near the end, he whispered joyfully the bad word in his dad's ear. Whispered it joyfully. Yeah, it wasn't my word, it was Charles' word, right? How about the fact that when Charles had a good day, up at the top in the fourth section, it said he grimly reported that Charles had a good day. He's not happy when Charles has a good day. He likes when Charles acts up. He likes when Charles gets in trouble. He kind of thinks it's a hoot. All right, we're trying to figure out a character trait for Lori here. Okay, let's look at a few more details. How about when Lori says, well, Charles should be thrown out of school for his behavior. What does that tell you about Lori in terms of right and wrong? He knows better. He knows right from wrong. So things he's finding funny, he knows aren't right, but they're playful, they're funny. Okay? So what does this tell you? So Lori is playful. I mean, he disobeys and he's disrespectful and he's kind of gross, but he is 5 and he knows right from wrong. He's just playing. Let's look for a character trait that might fit. What character trait comes to mind that you say, I think this fits Lori? Let's look in this right side. Brave, no. Adventurous, rambunctious, I don't think that quite fits. Humorous, but he's not the one being funny. Slide over here. Rude, yeah, but we said playful too. So he's doing bad things, but he's kind of being playful about it. Hey, look, mischievous. Mischievous, where he acts up and he knows better, but he's just kind of being funny, mischievous. That's a character trait. And nowhere in that whole story about Charles did the author ever tell us that Lori was mischievous. You know what we just did? We tracked the character and we looked across the whole text to come up with a single character trait to fit him. That's what readers do. If you were in Mrs. Smecken's class, I would have you read a brand new text. You have not read this text before. It's called The Kids' Table. I want you to read this text. It's got 5 chunks. It's only one page, got 5 chunks. I want you to read this text and I want you to give me the timeline of the do, say, and think details of the kids in this story. Now I know that's plural, but all of the kids kind of they're the same group. They do the same thing. So keep a list of the do, say, and think details of the kids from each of the 5 sections of this story. Okay, then, whoa, you're not done. Because then I want you to use those details and I want you to put them on a silhouette head, whichever details you think are most helpful. And just like we did, I want you to start to find, well, what does that say about the kids? What word would fit them for the whole text? Because Lori was mischievous at the beginning when he made up Charles. And Lori was mischievous in the middle when he grinned enormously. And Lori was mischievous at the end when he whispered the bad word. This fits the character for the whole thing. I'll give you a list of character traits to help you. Remember, not feelings. You're looking for traits. What traits help describe the kids in the story, The Kids' Table? If you were in Mrs. Smecken's class, that's what we'd be doing, but your teacher might have a better idea.